Signs of unforgiveness that are affecting you. The demon world has its own hierarchy of destruction, of pain, and of distortion. Unforgiveness, for one, causes more destruction, more pain, and more distortion than all the others put together. Makes it a pretty powerful demon. It makes its victims blind, sick, and being an endless excuse making, or being endless excuse makers trying to hide that unforgiveness. That unforgiveness is there. You'll declare things, but there's no power in it. Unforgiveness manipulates a person into thinking that they have forgiven someone while replaying the event endlessly, calling in deception, hatred, revenge, and ridicule. He causes one to cherish and worship the pain that another has caused. And you see, once you start worshiping the pain that somebody else causes you, you turn around and want to magnify that pain on somebody else. It causes you to refuse to release that person and allow them to have a new day. And you like to have a new day, that you have a fresh start on things. And nor does he allow you to enjoy the day that you're in, or seek good with each new day. You see, you don't expect a good thing from God because it can't come to you when you're in unforgiveness. So, what do you expect? You either have to expect good or evil. What do you expect? If you're not forgiving, you can only expect evil. Only evil can come for you. And people will say, well, nothing good ever happens to me. Well, they're still breathing, but what it is they're saying, I am locked in unforgiveness. There are 15 most common signs of being possessed or controlled by the demon of unforgiveness. The first sign is avoidance. Not willing to see or deal or sometimes even pray for an offending person. You want to just avoid them. Because you're pain, I'm going to avoid them. We avoid letting God deal with the offender because we're avoiding our responsibilities. Oh, why doesn't avoidance hit the top of the list? Because the flesh is a pleasure seeker. And if somebody's not bringing you pleasure, they're bringing you pain. So you want to avoid them. But it says, bless your enemies. And if you're in unforgiveness, you will not bless your enemies. And that's, I identify the second point is that that shows up is you do not bless those who have hurt us or hurt you in any way. Whether spoken evil against us or made accusations against us or betrayed us, we just don't forgive them. It creates this unquenchable desire to curse them with the pain, discomfort, and loss, and make them pay 100 times more than what they did. They may not even realize they did something, but you're going to make them pay for it anyway. And because you're not willing to bless, mercy cannot be sown towards them. Therefore, you cut yourself off from receiving mercy. You get the picture on that? No mercy sown is none able to be received. And we need our Father's mercies every day to survive it properly. Third point is a quick flaring of anger, rage at even minor irritations. Or if somebody you don't like is requesting help from you, then you'll flare in an anger rage. Or let's say a minor accident happens. Flare off the handle. A 2-year-old child learning to drink out of the glass drops the glass and spills the milk. So there's a flare of anger, rage take place. And because that took place, the child will not learn to forgive. They will stay in anger, rage till they're prayed for. They got to be blessed into it. But that anger, rage always attacks and cripples the people that you use it on. And especially when they're young and helpless, they stay crippled all their life until that's turned over, till they're prayed for to receive. And what's a glass of milk? Is it worth somebody's life? Is it worth your own life going to hell for? No. We see that there's this desire to punish, to inflict pain, to yell at, to scream at, to curse, and take on a cold-hearted response when they give you a question about something. You have no tolerance for them asking questions. So, when you have this quick motion into anger, rage, you have to look at this as one of the key sources that you're in unforgiveness. Top 3. And it has its effect on people's lives. You may flare up and then not think about it after, but it's sowing a seed that's growing a wrong tree in another person. And God will have to spend time rooting that out. Because he says any tree that he didn't plant, he's going to root out of you. The fourth point is a string of failures follow you, and nothing good seems to happen to you or for you. Now, there's this thing about failures is that you can think you're doing something that has no chance of failing, and fail anyway. is that when the string of failure starts, it always affects families and it always affects marriages. When there's unforgiveness there, it always affects it. The fifth point is words of despair flow easily and quickly from your mouth. You curse your future without even knowing it. So, how do you curse it? Well, things don't work out for me. Or you'll say such stupid things as, my parents died of cancer, I'm going to die of cancer too. And that's rooted in unforgiveness. Silly things. How about, my feet are killing me? You really want them to kill you? We had a person living here, Damien, that he used to say that at one time. His feet, he'd wear these Hells Angels boots, biker boots, and they would make his feet so sore. He kept saying, "Oh, these, my feet are just killing me." Then he got gangrene and just about lost his feet, right up to the knee. They wanted to cut it off there. But because of the prayers and the intervention, he kept his feet and lived from that. So, we gotta look, he was always in unforgiveness towards his adoptive parents. And they were very, very cruel to him. But he kept saying things of death because of unforgiveness, and it took his life early. Point number 6. You demand your emotional rights, not allowing room for doing right in God's sight. You just want your emotional rights. And again, that goes back to the quest for pleasure that we've asked people to watch on that Malachi 4:1 site. When you're in demanding of emotional rights, you don't mind stepping across other people's borders. You don't mind moving in intimidation or moving in a bulldozing effect that you're going to push everybody away because you got emotional rights. And that's rooted in unforgiveness. Number 7, a very strong need to rehearse what has happened to you in the past. You're like trying to bring your past into the future so that you can have this self-pity party or sympathy seeking or seek the pity from other people so they'll comfort you. But it is really rooted in that unforgiveness. One tries to redo the past with words of ifs or could'ves or might'ves. You try and rehearse the past. Now, what does that do? because unforgiveness is there and you're doing that, you're cursing your forward future to always dwell on the past. You cannot use these would have, could have, might have, should have, and not realize that's unforgiveness at work to lock you in to staying in unforgiveness for your future. And most people will agree to it. They don't realize the amount of stress that builds into their life. Now, people that are in unforgiveness have this 8-point, and it's a strong self-justification techniques they use. They have a justification for everything. Because they can't ever be wrong because they got hurt in their past. So it's got to be somebody else's problem and mistake. Self-justification is used to promote oneself and cause others to distrust the offender. And the thing is that when you're in unforgiveness, you become the offender. You know, when people are drunk, that they can tell you the same story over 50 times and not realize they've spoken it out. Why is that? Because they're trying to drown the pain of their unforgiveness in the booze. But they're in total unforgiveness. And they're justifying it. That's the thing. The booze justify it because it makes them strong, you see. Number 9 is feeling sorry for oneself. That's not the same as the self-pity. But it does cause self-pity parties. Oh, my dad used to call them, there's a person that poops a lot on themselves. It's self-pity party. You can't do it. You can't produce anything. You can't grow. You can't be a victor at anything. Can't conquer anything. And they have to try and draw people into it at every opportunity. It creates times where it's the person using the sorry for oneself, they create this thing of, where they have these songs they keep singing of, everybody hates me. You know, it also establishes what's called the fiduciary reports. And fiduciary reports are long lists of grievances of things that have happened in the past. Which is literally saying, feel sorry for me. Okay. I'm having a pity party, feel sorry for me. And this long list keeps getting added to, it never gets subtracted from. That's a cruel thing about it. When you get these fiduciary lists or these long lists of grievances, they never get subtracted from. Unless people are praying for you to open your eyes to get rid of it, you just don't do it. And that's why it's written so many places, pray for one another, bless one another, don't curse one another. And they turn around and they make lists also of what they call bad people. People that have done things, bad things to them, all of a sudden are now bad people. They may be just like them, or better than them, but they're on their bad people list because they did something that they may not even have known that they did. And that unforgiveness keeps holding them on that list. Now comes the most common one that is people readily accept it. It's called wishcraft. It develops periods of excessive longing for the so-called safe place. You know, there's too much activity, too much negativity in the world. I gotta find my own safe place. That's witchcraft. Who says that they can protect you and that you can turn things over?
Yeshua.
Yeshua, yeah. So if you're looking for your safe place, what are you looking for? I'm looking for a place where Yeshua can't find me. I can do it on my own. I can wish up a place that's going to save me. Okay? Very common. The next thing that comes in this wish list is they want a quick solution to their problems that doesn't involve Yeshua. And they are also seeking revenge. And do you know something? Revenge isn't love. Anybody figured that out? No? Oh. One may hide it, but it will still dwell. They will dwell on this witchcraft, and it will always have this effect of overpowering them to do things for emotional pleasure or for that escapism, that avoidance. They'll do things in that line. And they begin to meditate on their witchcraft more than they will. They can't meditate on the word after a while. They get so bad. See, we're to declare into the world the will of God so things can be changed. If we're using wishcraft, we're using witchcraft. It's just the pathetic form of it. Number 11. A blindness to the needs of others. And this is really amazing to see when it's in action. A person will fall down and need help getting up, and they'll walk right around them or right over them. Or they may have had an accident, and they're in the car and they can see that this person got hit by the previous car, so they run over them too. Well, they didn't get out of the way. So it's got to be okay to do it, right? It produces paradigms of, I've been hurt so many times that, so now I have a right to violate, to intimidate, to shame, or condemn others, and to entrap them. so that it'll appease me and I'll feel better about myself that I've done something with my problem. As a person in need may, they make the best victims. So when there's unforgiveness, you look to the people you can victimize the best. Number 12 is a clinging to negativity, a clinging to contempt for others or condemnation, and seeking another person to come under backlash or revenge because of what they did or might have done. Others must suffer if something goes wrong. Somebody's got to suffer. Somebody's got to pay for this. But they never see what they do. Yeah. They get blinded by that. Because of that negativity and the unforgiveness, they are totally blinded that they may have been the source of the problem that injured them or caused this emotional pain or this failure to take place. Number 13 is a critical approach to others that is based upon perfectionism. Rules and regulations and conditions of acceptance change continuously. You never know where you stand with a person that's heavily involved with unforgiveness. You just never know. Because perfectionism will tell them, well, they're not good enough to be a friend. They're this, they're not. And the next day you are, and the following day you're not. They say that's how you get agita, which is an upset stomach in the worst form. And the trouble is that once that critical approach is there, someone must pray and fast before that person can get a breakthrough. Once perfectionism is there, without prayers and fasting for the person that's under this unforgiveness, it's not possible to break through. They won't hear sound reasoning or logic or even the Word of God. Number 14 is the denial or hiding of being plagued by unforgiveness's tormentors. You say, well, it can't be me because, well, I've turned everything that I know to turn over. I've turned it over, so don't point anything else out to me. And you'd be surprised how many times over the last 21 years I've heard that here. So why is it there? When they deny that they're being plagued by it, it's got to be somebody else doing it. It can't be something that I've done that's come home to roost. And they deny that they use the words causing pain or that they're creating curses that come back on them, or that they're creating a shame around them, a blanket of shame. They just fall in denial of it. Now the 15th point is refusal, will always attack when unforgiveness is present. And the more unforgiveness is there, the more powerful refusal becomes. Refusal stops one from seeing freedom. That's his first job. It stops peace. It stops the flow of wealth or joy. And you can't claim your purpose that God has given you. It just won't happen, it won't work. It sets attitudes that refuse to let go of unforgiveness and its 33 tormentors. So you've got to take into account that you are holding on to something that wants to lock you in permanently to unforgiveness, to be a slave. Now, any of these signs of unforgiveness should tell you that unforgiveness still it's still there stealing your peace and the joy of Jesus and the ability to increase. It's like putting a curse on yourself when you're in unforgiveness. You're the one that pays the biggest price for the longest time. This demon is there to steal your identity in Yeshua. And it steals your ability to see victory on anything. It turns you into a hypocrite. And we all like dealing with hypocrites, right? Just Charlene smirked and gave a yes, but you know. And it makes you think like a loser. Always thinking like a loser. You can't think like a winner. And what you envision is what you produce. So if you see yourself as a loser, you will produce those events in your life that make you a loser. Now, atonement tells us to release unforgiveness. And I should point out that unforgiveness, when it's, you know to release it and don't, it creates a trauma in your system. It often will attack you with threads of cancer. Atonement is telling us to come back to our Father, come back to Yeshua, and get freedom. We cannot serve two masters without being victimized by tormentors. And unforgiveness is a very cruel, cruel taskmaster. With atonement, we release the flesh to the control of our spirit. And our spirit's been trying to tell us for a long time we've been in unforgiveness. And we don't realize to what or how at times because we're being blinded to it. So the quest for pleasure ends in atonement. It's a turnover item for atonement. And with regular fastings, unforgiveness, it becomes weakened from its specialists in getting one to rely on the flesh. You'll start to want to rely on the Holy Spirit, on the Father, on Yeshua, and not the flesh. Now, in closing, I'm going to read a warning declaration number 79, which I think was supposed to be available here today, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's called Open My Heart for the Grace to Forgive. Father, as this day begins, I recognize that I've carried yesterday's hurts, pains, distresses, and bitterness into today. I know that the demon named unforgiveness is working in me to disconnect me from you. And Father, that is totally unacceptable to you and to me. The demon unforgiveness keeps telling my heart that certain people do not deserve my love or my forgiving them. This evil bombardment has produced a heavy weight to my heart and a rotten attitude in my mind. This demon is blocking me from releasing my faith and from accepting your provision. Therefore, Father, I decree, open my heart to accept and employ your grace of forgiving, as you recorded in Matthew 18:22, to be forgiving 70 times 7, or into infinity. I want to let go of offense, resentment, bitterness, all anger, rage, railing, reviling, and refusal, so that I am free to forgive. Or as recorded in Mark 11:25, we are commanded to forgive and leave it in the past, and let it go along with all the pain. I seek to stop rehearsing the offense, the problems, the loss that unforgiveness brought in. And as in Matthew 24:12, I do not want my love to grow cold. Cold-heartedness brings a curse and brings in faithlessness, as well as a decree from you, Father, that you will not forgive me if I do not forgive. And as it is written in 1 John 3:17, do not close your heart off from compassion. And the spirit of unforgiveness does that. I choose to be like Yeshua, as recorded in Exodus 34:6, that you are abundant in loving kindness and truth. I want to be like him. Therefore, I accept your word, your grace to forgive, and an open heart to show loving kindness to others. I declare to my soul that I accept your grace to forgive with thankfulness. I will seek to do myself a favor and forgive. Forgiving is to your glory, and I seek to glorify you with honor forever. In Yeshua's name, Amen.